All right, welcome back, guys. Today we're talking about why you should consider a midterm rental for your portfolio. For us, we kind of stumbled upon a midterm rental. To be quite frank, about a year ago, I didn't even know what a midterm rental was. I had short term, I had long term, had syndications, I had flips. I had no clue that midterm even existed until one of our properties was supposed to be a short term rental. And the city and neighbors essentially rescinded their signature, and we had to pivot very quickly because we had this $380,000 house full of very nice furniture that was, at a snap of a finger, no longer allowed to be a short term rental. And just to be quite honest, the interest rate that we got the house, the mortgage was not low enough that we could make sense of having a long term tenant in there. So we went to one of our friends who is a short term manager. We said, "What do we do? Like, do we just have to sell this property?" And they said, "Well, have you considered midterm?" And I said, "What is a midterm?" So she was nice enough to walk me through the whole process and help us get set up. And I learned a ton, and why I want to add more midterm rentals to our portfolio. And here's how she described a midterm rental. She said, "I had this huge network of traveling nurses, traveling doctors, insurance companies, corporations that all are looking for just what it sounds like, midterm housing. So 3, 6, 9 months to place people in fully furnished homes for a premium in exchange for them living in the house." And so for us, it perfectly checked all the boxes because we now no longer had to conform to the rules of the city, which said anything under 30 days is considered a short term rental. And so, right there, one of the big advantages of a midterm rental is its ability to bypass maybe some HOA laws or some city or county laws that say anything under 30 days is considered a short term rental. So, midterm passes that with flying colors, and now we no longer have to worry about that red tape. And I said, "Well, how quickly can this get rented out? What type of premium? Where do we list this property?" I really had no clue. And so I relied heavily on our property manager to really guide us through this midterm rental, which was new to me. And what I found out was there are huge advantages to a midterm. One of the advantages is that you are locking a premium price in for multiple months. Whereas a short term rental, like at VRBO or Airbnb, it's very higher risk, right? It's more up and down. You might get a booked month where you're at 80% occupancy, and then the next month you're at 30 to 40%. You're having tons of moving pieces going on with cleaning crews, damage to the house, worrying about parties, worrying about things happen while guests are there. They need it fixed ASAP. Whereas midterm is more like a long term tenant, but fully furnished. And so midterm for us kind of opened the doors like, wait, I can still get a premium for my property without having to worry about all the hustle and bustle of a short term rental and without as much risk. So there was huge advantages for us that I never knew were out there. So if you're going to find a property for us, like I said, we had to pivot, but now I'm going to find more midterm rentals because since we flip homes and we want to add to our portfolio of things that give us passive income, finding it is really trying to reverse engineer where the midterm rentals are doing well, close to hospitals, close to the big headquartered offices here in town for us, and also in neighborhoods with good schools. Because what we found out is we had multiple inquiries of insurance companies actually looking to place families while they were out of their home, maybe electrical fire, maybe a flood. Then we also had corporations moving in families. The family was not ready to just pick a neighborhood and purchase a home. So the headquarters says, "Hey, listen, we'll give you a monthly stipend to stay at this fully furnished, nice midterm rental for 6 months until you guys can decide where you want to live." Not to mention the traveling doctors, traveling nurses, all those just opened our eyes to the clientele out there looking for these types of properties. So I would reverse engineer whatever your market and your demographic is, figure out the hot spots, go on Furnished Finder and see what people are charging for fully furnished homes. Okay, that brings me to the next topic: furnishing the home. It is going to cost you about $8,000 to $12,000, depending obviously on the size of the home, the style, your location, where you're at in the world. But you need to equate for that. So not only do you have to purchase the home, but you have to furnish it just like you would a short-term rental. So there is a lot of cost up front, but I have noticed that the better you furnish and stage a property, you are going to be able to charge a premium. There are tons of management companies out there and just guys that cut a lot of corners. So my advice to you, if you want to rent your space out quick and you want a premium, stage it well, hire a designer, and also take professional photos, and then make sure they are edited correctly so you're going to get the most attention to your property. And people will pay a premium for that. Especially remember, most of the time on these midterms, they are not spending their own money, right? They're spending the insurance's money, they're spending corporate's money. Maybe they are having a stipend for their, a lot of nurses, traveling nurses have a stipend that they can spend up to, and they'll come in on a house. Same thing with doctors. So don't be afraid to put a higher price point on that home, because you are going to have to pay for internet, utilities. It is treated like a short-term rental in that sense, whereas long-term tenants will usually pick up the trash bill because they're going to be there for maybe multiple consecutive years. So midterm rentals for us open up that, one, there is clientele looking for these type of properties. They need a quick solution. They can come into town fully furnished, have a spot for them or their family very quickly, and they're willing to pay a premium. Second of all, it offers a huge advantage over, there's not as much volatility or risk as there is in short term, as well as bypassing all the red tape of having to worry about getting your property approved, getting neighbors' signatures depending on what city you live in, having cleaners at your beck and call that can go and clean the property 4, 5, sometimes even 6 times a month with a short term. You're getting all the benefits of a short term rental without the headache, right? And so when we understand that, we're going to start looking at how we can position some of our homes and going forward flips. Can we keep maybe some more of them than we thought? Because maybe they don't make sense as a short term rental or a long term rental, but maybe they're perfectly aligned for a midterm rental that can still bring a premium by just making a couple tweaks, getting on Furnished Finder, getting on your local Facebook groups, leveraging maybe a third party management company that specializes in midterms. They are out there, and I guarantee they're in your market. Find them and at least use them for the placement. You may not use them month to month as they go forward, but use them to get a placement, because there are a couple disadvantages that I'll touch on very quickly. A couple disadvantages to a midterm. Short term is really fun because you're getting that dopamine hit of people wanting to request the property and approve, and it's very quick and it's very fast moving, and you're seeing high rates. Midterm was a little bit different. We only got, I say only, got 4 inquiries within 3 weeks. But what's really cool about all the inquiries, they were all vetted. They all were like some sort of insurance and corporate money that we didn't have to worry about. Okay, is this person, gonna be able to pay? We didn't have to worry about our price, but there is a little bit longer of a lead time in getting someone in the space, and your leads are going to be fewer. There's not as many people looking for midterms, but also your competition in your market is going to reflect that as well. So the other disadvantage is lining up the month, the time frame from a guest leaving and the guest coming in. So what I mean by that is, with a long-term rental, you usually have your tenant let you know, hey, we're not renewing our lease. We're going to go buy a house. We're going to move somewhere else. Or whatever the case may be. So you have time to get a tenant in and line up and reduce your vacancy rate. With midterm rentals, it's a little bit different because they'll be staying for 6 months. You know it's coming up, but maybe the next person that you have locked in doesn't need to start their residency for maybe another month or two. So you will have to factor in maybe in a little higher vacancy rate for midterms. Other than that, though, there's not a lot of downsides to midterm rentals. For our scenario, we were able to charge $4,500 per month for a furnished 3-bedroom, 2-bath. I feel like that's a very high premium for Kansas City. It was a remodeled home. It was done very nicely, and it was fully furnished to the nines. But we were able to cash flow over $1,000 per month on this midterm, which wasn't as much as we projected from a short term, but there's way less headache. There's way less damage to the property, and we have a guaranteed $1,000 a month cash flow from this property that is going to be taken care of way better and not as abused as much as the short-term rentals. And if we had to go long-term rental, we wouldn't even be able to keep the property because it wouldn't be profitable. So that's why I think you should consider midterm rentals for your portfolio. Stay tuned for more news like this.